Hello everyone, welcome back to the Fast Travel Lounge. You're listening to episode 10. My name is Patrick. I am once again joined by Seth, Steve, and Josh. Say hi, guys.
Hey everyone.
Howdy.
Hi guys.
Hey, there we go. All right, bit of a short schedule for this week. Pokemon Legends of Arceus came out, so chances are we will spend most of our time on that. Before we get to that, though, we have a couple of quick things to go through. Obviously, we heard the thrilling conclusion to the anime arc that was Steve fixing his phone last week, but it seems like another one of us has been befallen, or befell, if you will, with some technological problems. Josh, your computer. What happened? Talk us through it.
My monitor completely died about a month back, which is always good, so I'm still waiting for warranty for that. And then earlier this week, I think probably Friday or Saturday, the water cooler decided to literally just die in my PC, and it was running at like 80 degrees. So yeah, and having to contact them for warranty, replace multiple different parts after it got shipped. And I think it's working at the moment, but then as I basically was testing everything and had to reinstall all of my OS, because Windows 11 also decided to clock it from when it turned off, my RAM has now started posting faulty things, so that's always good. So hopefully it doesn't crash during the recording, but we should be good.
Is this really the power of the PC Master Race?
Wow. Wow, I don't even have words for that.
I'm regretting letting Steve speak. That's a mistake that I won't make again.
No, me too. The fact that he was hyped about this before we even spoke. Oh.
I've never had a problem with my Xbox's water cooling.
You know what? You did have a problem with your Xbox where it kept turning off trying to run games, so...
That is correct, but...
Which is exactly the problem I had.
That was 2 years ago, man. You got to get over it.
Never get over something like that.
Things happen, investments get made. Some people have stocks in Microsoft now.
Sorry, I think I hear people screaming Xbox Red Ring somewhere in the background. I don't know.
That was 15 years ago. They're selling merchandise of it now. It's funny.
Oh no, your stocks.
It's good. It's coming back.
Won't someone think of his stocks? So, what is the plan to fix this? Obviously, you've tried fixing it yourself, and it seems rather unsuccessful. I don't know. Iffy on the successful front.
Semi-successful. My problem is I keep having to replace parts. I ended up setting up my two SSDs up in RAID and wiping it and putting Windows 10 back on it, which solved a bunch of software issues I had. That resulted from the water cooler kept turning off the PC, which corrupted a whole bunch of stuff. So replacing the water cooler resolved that, but then my RAM is just posting errors when I was testing everything else. So the RAM's about like 6 years old, so I'll probably buy new RAM, and then that should hopefully be the end of it.
At some point, you're better off just buying a whole new build.
Well, the build's only October last year, other than the RAM. I was just salvaging parts, and the only part that isn't brand new is literally the RAM and the PSU. And the PSU was new 2 years ago when my other PSU blew up. So I guess I shouldn't touch technology.
And remember what you do for a living, Josh?
I do not work
touch
in
technology.
IT. What do you mean?
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
True, actually.
It turned itself off. Yeah.
Okay. But then maybe it turns itself off.
Oh yeah, it got halfway. Yeah,
we call that automation.
Oh wow.
It's a really big part of speeding up the process of my job.
I heard there are some great scripts for that you can download from just a bunch of untrustworthy websites.
Yeah. Downloadmoreram.com. Hit it up, lads.
LinkinPark.mp3.exe.
If you did have to get it fixed, professionally, I mean, rather than just you throwing a spanner at it and seeing what happens, would you try and beat Steve on the technology fix any percent leaderboard, or are you going to go for a different category?
I don't think I could compete because I spent the first 6 years of my working career working in a computer repair shop. But I'd give it a go. I think I can probably beat Steve's record of 5 weeks.
I had the phone for 5 weeks, and then it went away for 6.
Even better. Yeah, no, I can beat that record.
That's just sad to hear.
I've got it back, and it's still not broken. It's been a full 7 days.
Best 7 days of your life.
Yeah, every now and then, I'll put it gently down onto the couch, and I'm like, oh, is that it? Is this the end?
Is this the power of the foldable phone master race?
Yes.
Do you ever put the phone down and then smile and gaze middle distance, into a wall or something, and think, just where you came from all those weeks ago and where you are now, and how much better off you are now that you have your phone back?
Not really, because if I think about it too hard, I'm worried that I'll break it again.
Spoken like a true millennial.
Just snap it shut.
And make the switch sound.
I hear that they bend the other way. They don't just bend inwards. You can also bend them outwards. You should
cool.
give it a go.
I heard it was like one of those revolving doors. It just only goes one way, but it goes a full 360 degrees.
I'll try to do it the other way. Like I can do it on the x-axis. I'll try to do it on the y-axis.
True. Hidden feature. It was probably in a software update. I'm sure it would work now.
Bend it in the z-axis somehow.
Yeah. So, Josh, you're in the repair store, right? And maybe you're not going for the 90% speedrun, but what morality alignment are you going for? Obviously, we had the good ending with Steve. Would you go for the bad ending just to shake things up? Because listeners would probably want a bit of variety given that most of our front-loaded content is now how people repair their own technology.
I'm sick of all these black and white things. I want a middle ground. I want to hear Josh get a neutral ending.
I was going to say, neutral. It just remains broken. I literally don't touch it. It just sits on my desk. No, I was going to say, maybe you don't do it.
Josh buys a new computer and breaks that one instead. Neutral.
I literally just buy a new computer and move the broken parts into that new computer and just use that computer.
That sounds like the chaotic evil route.
It does sound like chaotic evil, but I mean, look, anyone that's heard my opinions knows that I'm chaotic something. So if we just good, neutral, or evil, if we've got an alignment, I think probably chaotic good for the most part with my computer. This is the most expensive thing I own by a decent margin.
Is chaotic good just stealing parts to repair it?
I don't know if that would be good. That would be evil. It would be like buying from not scalpers, I guess.
Well, it'd be good because your problem is solved. It just gives other people problems.
That's not how alignment works.
So this is a homebrew type of setting we're talking about, right? Though.
I don't know, man. I think
the morality.
Yeah.
Yes.
The morality is now homebrew.
This says a lot about our society.
Here's a book that I found that had some squares on it that told me whether I'm good or evil. It was a BuzzFeed quiz.
Whacks the guy in the face with the book and walks away. Yeah, that was good.
Take this morality quiz.
Cool. All right. Well, I mean, hopefully that all goes well. And if it doesn't, then we have the... Excuse me. And if it doesn't go well, we have the pre-show sorted for the next 5 weeks worth of episodes.
Don't do this.
What else have people been up to? Just generally, really. Obviously, we had Australia Day recently, or Invasion Day, depending on your take on it. Do you guys get up to much?
On Invasion Day? Nah, it's not a day to celebrate. It's just a day off work.
Yeah, basically. I don't even remember what I did that day. I think I just played games.
I went to the beach and I lost my keys. I hate my life.
And is that a chaotic good?
Tell the group. How did we lose the keys?
So, it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, it's hot. I'm going to the beach. Went to the beach. My partner's like, no, I don't want to come. You go by yourself. I'm like, cool. Let's go a quick swim, come back. I go park 15 minutes away because it's very busy and I forgot other people want to use the beach. Walk 15 minutes downhill, go there, have my swim, have a bit of a sunbake, watch a couple of videos on my phone, then come back uphill, covered in sweat, drive home for 25 minutes because there's heaps of traffic. Get in the lift and I'm like, hey, where are my keys? I'm like, oh, I must be in the car. Search the car, they're not there. I'm like, oh, maybe I just left them at home. So I have to go up to ground floor, buzz it. My partner's like, oh, hey, did you lose your keys? And I'm like, just let me in. And then
I don't want to talk about it. Just let me inside.
Then I go in. I look around the house. There's no keys. I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. It is what it is. So then on Thursday, my partner leaves for work and I'm working from home. And I'm like, all right, I can't leave the house because if I leave, I'm fucked. Because the way you get into our apartment block, there's an FOB entrance to sort of get in the building and then there's an FOB to get up the elevator.
Fallout Boy entrance? Oh my god. Wow, that was 2012 though. I can't do that again. No, go back.
Thanks for the memories, right?
Yeah.
So long story short, I've lost my keys. Me and my partner now have a sort of a split custody thing going on with the keys.
Who gets them on weekends?
She does because they're her keys. Well, there's a lot of...
Steve, how did you lose your house keys but not your car keys?
Because I keep them separated.
Why?
Because there was an incident like this previously.
Oh god, he's got a history.
And because we've only got one set of car keys, well, it's car key, not car keys. It was like, oh shit, if we lose the house keys, we've got no car key type of thing. And then we're truly fucked. So we split them. Although we ended up finding them, it turns out they were under the bed or something.
So I have a better question for you, right? If you have your
car
just shit
keys
on
my question,
and I will. But if your car keys and your home keys are separate, why wouldn't you leave said home keys in the car when you went to the beach and just carry the car key?
True.
No, can I take that question on notice, please?
Leave it on red.
Yeah.
Scene.
Too much logic for this.
It was in
All
my.
right, so I think we have our audience question for this week. Feel free to get back to us next week with that, Steve.
Yeah. So long story short, I've emailed the landlord. I'm like, hey, big fella, keys? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll hook you up. And then that was it. And it's been a week. And that's it.
And you didn't think to go back to the beach and try to find the house keys?
No. Like it was.
There's like a pause you consider, like, why didn't I do that?
I like that multiple questions have been common sense and like he just hasn't done any of them.
Well, that's the thing about common sense. It's not that common.
It's true.
Yeah, I thought about it the next day. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should do it. But then I'm like, yeah, it's gone. Like they've gone to the great big key box in the sky or at the bottom of the ocean.
They're in a turtle somewhere now.
They're in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
I'm hoping that I don't get a visit from a great white shark saying, hey, big fella, we live here now. We have the keys.
Oh, well, that's the rules. I'm out.
You walk in, there's just like a dolphin chilling on your couch.
What was that really bad like old children's show where the top half of them is like a shark and the bottom half is just like human?
What?
The Little Mermaid?
Street Sharks?
Street Sharks, maybe? Yeah, I think it was called Street Sharks. God, that was
Was
a
it a
weird
cartoon or like a costume thing?
show. I think it was like a cartoon.
Yeah, it's Street Sharks then.
Yeah, you just have one of those just sitting in your house waiting for you, cracking his knuckles.
Oh,
His fin.
that sounds horrifying. So thanks, man. I didn't want to sleep tonight anyway.
No worries, mate.
Okay, well, on the back of Steve's looming insomnia, shall we do Round the Lounge? I feel like most people will probably be able to guess what Round the Lounge will consist of this week, but in case there are any surprises, Josh, what have you been up to this week?
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing a lot more Monster Hunter Rise when my PC was living, and I spent a solid probably 2 nights playing Legends of Arceus, but everything else was pretty much spent repairing my PC, so I got decently far in it, and yeah, we can talk about that, I guess, a little bit later, once everyone's done talking about their other stuff.
Sounds good. Seth, what about you?
If Patrick will let me, I'll finally talk about Doom 2016, and other than that, I played a lot of Pokemon.
You will talk about Doom 2016 when I let you talk about Doom 2016, and that might actually be this week.
It's been 6 years, let it go.
Steve, lucky last, what have you been up to, other than losing your house keys?
Well, can't leave the house. There's nothing but video games. So I've been steadily climbing the ranks of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and I've also been playing Pokemon Legends Arceus. And can I just clarify right now as well? I hate to be that guy, but I am. And that's who I am. All of you guys have been saying Pokemon Legends of Arceus. It's actually Pokemon Legends : Arceus.
Sorry, next time I'll say the colon. Pokemon Legends : colon of Arceus.
Yeah, Legends : Arceus. Sounds good. Yeah. sorry about that, Steve. We'll do better.
I redact my previous statement.
We'll take it to head office.
Thank you.
Right to Reggie.
No, Mr.
That
Bowser.
sounds good.
Mr. Bowser, yeah.
Mr. Bowser. As it seems like Pokemon Legends : Arceus is the common game amongst us, shall we finally get Seth to talk about Doom 2016 and then I guess Steve talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and then we'll just have a big chat about Pokemon Legends : Arceus. How does that sound?
Sounds perfectly fine.
I like it.
All right, so Seth, Doom 2016. Obviously, this isn't a new game. What prompted you to play it? Is this something that you played a while ago and you're just really keen to talk about it, or you played through it recently?
It's been sitting on my backlog for quite a while. I think since like 2017, 2018, maybe.
Not even when it came out. It was just like, yeah, exactly. Just like, just a couple of years later, like, yeah, I'll add that to the backlog.
Yeah. I do this a lot. There's a lot of games I buy and then I don't get to them years later. I still need to play Dragon's Dogma. Maybe I'll talk about that on the podcast someday. But anyway,
fantastic game.
Yeah, I keep hearing it's fantastic, so I can't wait to get to it eventually. But anyway, back to Doom. Yeah, it's just one of those games I've seen a lot of, and I've heard so many people talk great things about it. I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it someday. And yeah, just around Christmas every year, I make it a habit of starting up something that's on my backlog. I don't necessarily always finish them, but I like to at least try and make an effort to cross something off my bucket list of games. And yeah, this year it just turned out to be Doom.
Oh, that that wonderful Christmas game that is Doom.
Yeah, it's a really festive.
How many games do you add to your backlog a year versus
So
how many
many.
games do you cross off a year?
I'd probably say it's like a ratio of 1 to 2.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's about the same.
Why don't you just celebrate second Christmas?
I should.
Yeah,
maybe Easter. Maybe I'll make it an Easter tradition to also do it.
Well, that's
Christmas
that's
in
a bit
July.
religious-y. Let's not get let's not mix things up here. Why not just half Christmas?
You know what? I'm gonna do you one better. I'm just gonna make it a game for every day of Christmas. The 12 days of Christmas, I'll cross off one game every day.
Oh, right. I was just thinking like, okay, yeah, so that's still one day
One
of Christmas.
flash game. Yeah.
So you have 12 days to play 12 games.
Yeah, exactly. I can do that.
Can I add a game to your backlog?
No.
No.
I was gonna make it Bubsy 3D. I don't know
No.
why. I just feel like you should play it because I think you would just be so cursed forever.
What's that?
Maybe before I play KO the Kangaroo.
Yeah, I'd play that before I play KO as well.
Oh God. Steve, you're about to say something?
Oh, no, I was just going to make a funny comment about Gex.
Oh
well,
no,
funny is
okay,
debatable.
no, we're gonna drop
yeah,
that
so
one.
I decided against it, yeah.
Yeah, smart move. Seth, continue.
That joke was like an evening at Paul Allen's house. Sorry,
Can
go-
it?
They don't make him like they used to.
No, they certainly don't. Yeah, Doom. Shit. Where was I? Really, really fantastic game. Like everything that everyone always says about it. Right on the mark. It's really addictive. I found. Like once you get into the groove of like the music's pumping really hard and you're getting surrounded by demons and you're just blasting them all. It's just kind of like you're transcending in the violence. Is how I want to phrase it.
Would you say that you're chaotic evil at that point?
No, you're chaotic good.
Oh, can we please not make morality a running theme of this episode? That's gonna get so like awful so quickly.
Well, Doom takes place in hell, doesn't it?
Yeah, where everyone's lawful good, Steve. Let's move on.
No, it takes place on Mars and Hell.
It's in Mars. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, you're on a space station on Mars, and every now and then you get transported to Hell.
All right, play on.
Yeah, every gun in that game feels amazing to use, but the best one by far is the super shotgun.
Not the BFG.
No, the BFG is too limited to be the best. Like you have to go out of your way to find the ammunition to use it in every map, and you only get like 3 shots of it stocked. I think it was maybe 2.
But it is satisfying though.
It is super satisfying when you use it.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
But the super shotgun, like once you get it upgraded, you're just double shotting everything and blowing things up in like 2 to 4 shots, and it's so good. And you get like a demon, you just blow off the top half of a demon with the super shotgun, and it's super satisfying to use. Music, phenomenal. One of the best game soundtracks in years, especially from the Western side of the gaming industry.
Probably roughly 6 years.
Yeah. No, even in like the past decade, I'd say it's one of the best ones for at least for the Western side of games, because I find that a lot of Western games go for more atmospheric things than like actual music, while this just revels in gamey music that gets your blood pumping as you're going through the levels.
I was just about to bring up
was it-
Skyrim's great soundtrack, but I realised that's atmospheric, so I'm not going to. Never mind, play on. Sorry, Pat, you go.
No, thanks, Steve. Was it Doom that the mind behind it got shut down on what he initially wanted to use as a soundtrack, and then eventually he did the soundtrack the way that the producers wanted, and then just slowly put more and more of his creative input into it until the end product was exactly what he wanted. It was just a roundabout way of getting there rather than the producers constantly shutting him down.
That does sound like Doom.
Maybe it was for Doom, because I know Doom Eternal, they let him go full creative freedom, and that's when they started doing like the metal orchestra and metal choir and everything.
Because I think so. Obviously Doom 2016, 6 years ago, been a while, a lot of stuff's happened, but I think it was Doom where 'cause it's in my backlog. I haven't played it. I've wanted to, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Maybe on Christmas, who knows? But I'm pretty sure it was that one where I don't remember the musician's name, but he wanted to either make
Mick Gordon.
Thank you. I think if what I'm remembering is correct, Mick Gordon really wanted to make either like a dubstep soundtrack or a metal soundtrack, and the studio kept saying no, we want to do it this way, and it wasn't visceral in any way. So we did it the way that they wanted first, and then just slowly started layering up either the dubstep or the metal. And then it was like, you guys okay with this? They're like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And then like the next week would put like a little bit more on and be like, what about this? They're like, yeah, okay, yeah, we can sort of get that. And then by the end of it, it was just a full dubstep / metal album as the soundtrack.
Well, from what I saw earlier, it started out very EDM-y, and then he just layered guitars on top of it. So probably the metal one. But yeah, no, excellent.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing, because as far as I know for Doom soundtrack is that Mick Gordon went out of his way to find like a lot of things that are unconventional for music, and he was using like battered up old hardware that he'd find in dumps. He has like a lawnmower sound in one of those tracks as well, and he went really psychotic with like the things he could find, and trying to make the waveforms into demonic symbols as he was in the music. It's all over the top, and it's fantastic for it.
There's a documentary on it actually, so I haven't watched it, but I've been meaning to. But excellent soundtrack.
Yeah, maybe now that I've played the game, I'll go and watch that documentary. I've just seen bits and pieces of it.
He did a talk at like a conference or something about the soundtrack as well, I think. Yeah, no, it really set the bar in a lot of ways with Doom 2016.
I think he's Australian. As well.
He is.
He is? Oh, fantastic.
He is. Local hero.
Good. Aussie. Oi, oi, oi.
He kind of ruined the Doom Eternal one, though.
That drops him down a few places in my book, but I'll forgive him.
Just because we make the Pavlova and you guys didn't. Anyway, moving on.
We also got the Lamington.
And the Lamington, yeah.
How the sheep going over there, big fella?
Doris is doing wonderfully, thank you. I'll just go over there with my number 8 wire and strangle you all to death with it. So continuing with Doom. So we touched the soundtrack. Obviously, it's very fast-paced, actiony combat. I've heard that it's a very good game in that it's very fast-paced and visceral, and the core gameplay loop is fairly samey, but they keep doing it in ways that it doesn't get boring in any way. Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, it's paced really well. There's enough downtime between each combat arena that like you get to lower your blood pressure. You get to just explore, try to find some secrets, armor up a little bit more. They sprinkle in small enemies every now and then just to keep you engaged as you're going along. But each of like the big arenas, they always introduce not always, but they introduce new enemies at a good enough pace where it's always keeping things fresh. And by the end of the game, they're throwing a lot at you because you've got so many weapons and upgrades and everything that they just keep piling things on to try and overwhelm you and keep you addicted and aware of everything that's going on. And the music is, again, it's a big part of this experience. The music ramps up as you're going through the game as well, and that helps you get into the zone as you're going through these combat arenas.
That's cool. Any other points that you want to touch on it, or should we just move to your final thoughts and give it a score?
I'll just roll straight into my final thoughts from this last one.
I've got a question for you before you do. Have you played Doom Eternal?
No, not yet.
Okay, are you going to play Doom Eternal?
I am. I've been meaning to, but other games came out between me playing Doom and going to start Doom Eternal.
Okay.
Maybe next Christmas.
I just wanted to keep that in mind with your score, because I have thoughts, but we'll discuss it after you play Doom Eternal.
Yeah, so the last thing I wanted to mention is that I absolutely adore Doom Guy in this game. He just gives no shits about anything that's going on. He'll constantly punch monitors to shut people up or try to...
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he's being... in the first level, as you're going down an elevator, he's being told like the plot of the game and what's happening, and he just smashes his fist into the communicator to get the guy to shut the hell up. You can try to shoot... one of the NPCs when you get to his main office, and he just goes, "Don't try that again," and it disables your guns for the rest of the segment. Doom Guy's like this silent badass that's amazing and done really well in this game. So honestly, 10 out of 10.
Wow.
10 out of 10 noise. Pew, 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 pew. Because I know that we introduced that last episode.
Just insert the BFG division riff here.
Yeah, we need to get a 10 out of 10 sound.
We do.
Do Do you reckon he's a cousin of John Halo from Halo?
He's probably the distant older cousin.
Not the fun uncle.
The Funkle.
Funkle Doom guy.
Funkle from Mars. Sounds like
Yeah.
a Goosebumps book.
Yeah, that. God.
I'm scared
Yeah.
now. But yeah, Doom's definitely on my list. I'll get to it eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, highly recommended.
Am I the only one that's played it other than Seth? I think I have. So I think I am. You haven't played it, Patrick, obviously, you said?
No, it's in my backlog. I have it and have it downloaded. It's just sort of a similar boat with just other games coming out that I've either wanted to play more or everyone else has been playing, and I feel compelled to join them in because Doom obviously single player only.
There's multiplayer in it, but I haven't touched it.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think it's co-op if that's what you mean, Pat.
No, I just mean I don't. I'm pretty sure everyone that raves about Doom, none of it's like, oh no, the multiplayer is great. It's always just the single player is stellar.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know anyone that's even touched the multiplayer.
Yeah,
honestly.
and that's fine. But yeah, I just in my backlog haven't played it yet. Anyway, sorry, Josh. Where were you going with that?
Oh yeah, no, I was just curious because it sounds like I'm the only other one that's played it, and I'd probably give it like a 7 or an 8, to be honest.
Really? Oh yeah. When I was playing it, you were saying that it's not your type of game.
It wasn't that it wasn't my type of game per se. It just I don't know. Something about it just didn't grab me. It's like yeah. I don't know how to explain it. Like, the core gameplay loop was fun, the music was phenomenal, like you were saying, but it just felt very samey, I guess. But I'd played Doom Eternal first as well, and I don't think Doom Eternal was a particularly good game for multiple reasons, so I think that kind of tainted me before I played Doom.
Now that is a take and a half, as someone who hasn't played Doom Eternal. But
You just feel compelled to go into bat, Steve?
yeah, well, just from what I've heard, I've heard it's not like Doom Eternal isn't as good as Doom 2016.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I had a friend tell me to temper my expectations
Yeah.
going from 2016 to Eternal.
Yeah.
But I've also heard that because the grappling hook was in Eternal only, right? There wasn't a grappling hook in 2016?
Yeah, no, it's the grappling hook's only in Eternal. There's a few things that they introduce in Eternal that I can tell just from reconfiguring my keybinds a little bit before I went to go. Because I did go to start it up one day, and then I got invited to play Monster Hunter instead, I think. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll play Monster Hunter instead of Doom.
Does sound like our Discord, yes.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so 10 out of 10 from Seth, non 10 out of 10 from Josh. How much is it going? It's on Steam because that's where I bought it from, but how much is it going for nowadays? On sale, it'd be pretty cheap.
It's on Game Pass.
It always drops to $30 or below.
Yeah, I bought it for I think it was like 10 or 20 on Xbox when I first got my my One X, and then I bought it for like I think it was like $10 or $12 on PC.
It is currently 75% off and going for $8.73 Australian.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's definitely worth that money.
I think it's on Game Pass as well.
It is, yeah. It's Bethesda game, so.
Who made it? And who owns them?
Ubisoft. Wait, damn it. Sorry, wrong one.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Doom was on Game Pass before the buyout anyway.
It was, yeah. Not for long before, but it was.
Yeah, it's just one of those games that it ends up getting everywhere and it's super cheap all the
I
time.
don't think Doom Eternal was, though. I think it was added when Doom Eternal was releasing, perhaps.
Yeah, I think it was something around that. Because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
cool. I can get hyped. And then I just, all right, cool. Add it to the
Yeah.
list.
And with that, people that are listening and want to go try out Seth's 10 out of 10 game can and do it for cheap. Thank you for that, Seth. Steve, you want to tell us about Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel? How's the old rank grind going?
How do I say this in a way that doesn't make me come off as bad? So they've started a new season yesterday, I believe. Actually, no, February the 1st, so it was Tuesday. So I platinum. No, a new ranked season for Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, like the game that we're talking about at the moment.
Yeah, but what do they call it?
Season 2, I think. I don't know.
Ah, boring. Continue.
Well, if you let me finish my story, you'll see where this ends up.
You'll agree that it's boring. Anyway, continue.
But we can't do that. We have to interrupt you as much as possible.
That's fair.
You activated my trap card.
Oh,
Well, after the Shadow Realm, Jimbo.
oh no.
Well, no, it turns out you sent a monster to my graveyard 3 turns ago, and it only activates under the light of a full moon. That's why I win.
Yeah, but I got Mirror Force.
Oh shit, that's it. All right, GG.
I feel like this exchange is getting more and more niche, and I'm already lost.
Counter Regeki.
Oh man, what a base card.
Solemn Judgment.
Oh, no.
I don't think you can counter a counter.
I'm just going to put down little Karibo and back away slowly.
That's a
A
YouTuber.
little Karibo even.
Oh, just
It's not even
regular
a
size
card.
Karibo.
No,
There
he's
is
the
no
guy.
little Karibo.
Little Karibo makes
well.
the Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge series.
Yeah, he makes
Yeah.
the Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge series, no card.
And he's the strongest card of them all. You'll see.
No,
Anyway,
strongest card is Pepsi Man.
I summoned Dark Magician.
so ranked
Yes.
season 2's
Yeah,
going well.
So rank. Well, it's not going well. That's the problem. So what they
Fuck's
did.
sake.
You're trying to be positive,
Help
Patrick.
me, help you, damn it.
No, so what they did, right, is they dropped everybody as soon as the new season rolled over. They dropped everybody a tier essentially. So I was like platinum rank 3, and then the new season rolled over, and they've dropped everybody from platinum down to gold, everybody down from gold to silver, everybody from silver to bronze. I don't know what they were thinking with that. So essentially, it's like, all right, cool, you're back to gold. All right, cool, whatever. I can fight my way back to platinum. But because everybody's dropped back, all the people that used to be in platinum are trying to sort of get their way back in by sort of like clawing their way up. And
Which is what
everybody
you're
that's exactly. But everybody that's in that was in platinum before is using like one of like 3 meta decks. That it's like if you're not using one of those 3 decks, it's not that you can't win against them. It's just very hard to.
Are you using one of those 3?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, there we go. Fucking knew it.
So I played 4 games, got dunked on 4 games. I'm like, you know what? All right, time to make a deck. And it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm really tired. I put like 10 cards in the deck. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done. See you later. I couldn't be bothered. Trading card
It is
games
the
are hard.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Experience, yes.
Yeah, like,
Have you tried just starting a Smurf?
I don't know what that means. Smurfs aren't in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, having
Patrick
a
knows, he
Smurf
runs
account.
them. That's how the only reason he wins Dota games.
No, we're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't get.
Don't worry. Do you want to explain what a Smurf is, Patrick?
So a
Yes,
a
please.
Smurf to the uninitiated. It's a thing in pretty much anything with a rank system in there, where eventually, if you're good enough, you'll hit a point where it'll be hard for you to win because you'll be against people of equal skill. So you think, I'm not going to play these games of equal skill. I'd rather just dunk on some nerds for 40 minutes. And so you'll make a second account specifically at a lower rank. That way you can just, roll some shitters that need to get good. And
All right, wonderful. So I'm downloading it for my phone right now.
yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah.
Fantastic.
Now-
Cannot wait.
Yeah. Now you
Way to spoil the news section.
Yeah, it's coming out to the mobiles and stuff. We'll talk about it later. But yeah, so I'm sort of a bit.
This whole episode like structure has just gone to hell. We have news in part 1. What's next?
It's gone to chaotic evil.
Oh, that's not the
Alignment's in part
extension
2.
I wanted, Josh.
Yeah, so like long story short, the too long didn't read. I'm not having fun with it anymore, so I'm just gonna stop. I burned myself out on it. I'm done. I might play a bit more of the solo kind of stuff, but no more multiplayer for me, please. The rumor is that they're supposed to be bringing out some weird like tournaments or some weird events within the next couple of weeks. So I might jump onto that.
Yeah, you'll probably get some cards or something depending on your placement, because that's usually what happens with these games when they do a tournament mode.
But I've got my deck. I've got my cards. I don't need any more. But yeah,
I
so
just
that's
want like a Yu-Gi-Oh! 2006. This is the meta here. Play this game mode if you want to play old Yu-Gi-Oh! Because so many people are playing this because it was like old Yu-Gi-Oh! And now that everyone's got their meta decks, everyone I know that enjoyed it is no longer playing it.
yeah, and that's very. Takes the magic out of it. But I reckon if you went back and if they did use the old sort of like Duelist Kingdom Battle City rules, even Yu-Gi-Oh! GX for an extent, there's still meta decks.
No, there was still broken decks
Yeah.
back then,
There
so
was, but-
you'd still run into problems.
Yeah, I guess.
I remember running like a Cyber Dragon deck and you play like Overload Fusion and like all the monsters in your deck go to the graveyard and you get like 8,000 attack Cyber Dragon that can attack like 20 times. Oh, mwah, molto bene. I understand nobody understood what I just said, but...
Shout out to all the people that speak Italian that understand the praise that Steve just gave it. So if you wanted to swap from season 1 to season 2, would you just not drop ranks? Or like how obviously you're upset that everyone dropped a rank. What would you do differently?
We start everybody back from 0. Like, it doesn't make sense to just drop everybody back 1.
I think that's worse because you'd run into the problem that day one Master Duel had, where people that are just playing this for fun, that are like at the bottom of the ranks and just trying to get their decks together, are going against the super meta decks that are just going to run through everyone. So by just dropping 1 rank, you still got like the meta decks up in the golds, while the lower decks are down in the bronzes and the unranked.
I guess. But then at least I sort of learned what a meta deck looked like, as opposed to just sort of been like, oh, this is a bit different.
They'll learn anyway. They naturally increase though as they get better and get more cards.
Yeah, but if you're not using a meta deck, you probably won't increase at all. That's a problem, or at least some sort of weird.
If you liked the game enough, you would Google it.
Yeah, good point. That's what I looked at a deck list. That's how I made my deck. But yeah, that's the Yu-Gi-Oh! Masters update.
Because there are some, like, for example, I think Rocket League used to do this. It's been a while since I played Rocket League Ranked. I'm not sure. Where at the end of a season, you, like, so if you don't have your rank, which is, at the start of a season or what have you, you would have to play 10 games. And and those 10 games would determine your rank, depending on how many you won, how many you lost. But it would also be based on what rank you were last season. Even though you don't have an official rank, if you were in, let's say, Platinum, that it would either try and match you with similar to Platinum type players in general, or if it put you higher or lower, it would adjust what your matchmaking rating would be accordingly. So let's say everyone drops a rank. It's kind of weird to me that everyone would drop a single rank, because even if you drop everyone back to 0, yes, you have the day 1 issues, but if you knew what everyone's previous rank was, you'd be able to give the people that were in Plat or Gold the previous time just a larger boost to clear them from Bronze and Silver early on. So it's weird that it's just a fixed 1 rank drop for everyone.
Yeah, and
There
it's
are other
weird
games
because
that do it that way though.
maybe just because like it's only been out for like what 2 weeks now. Like they're still teething and all that type of thing. And
That's also the weird thing, is that how are we into season 2 already when it's barely been a month?
Yeah, I think they based it on like a calendar system. So like month rolled over, it changed the ranks.
That
was my impression as well, yeah. And if
Okay,
they don't reset it at least once a month, Yu-Gi-Oh! Will get very stale very quick. So they have to keep refreshing these lists.
Didn't the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game release like a new ban list anyway, like last week?
Yeah, they did. Yep.
Yeah.
But that would have been the TCG probably.
Yeah,
This is all running on the OCG.
Good point. Good point.
I know they broke a lot of meta decks too.
Because I'm only comparing that to Pokemon Unite, where the season 1 ran for 3 months, I think. Because I hit
when I
Master
hear
rank.
the word season, I think of like the seasons of the year. So like a 3-month period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I hit Master Rank within a month or 2 of Unite coming out, and I haven't touched it since they reset that. And I don't even think I got reset to 0. I just don't have the interest in playing Unite anymore.
You don't feel like fighting kids with mum's credit card behind them? I don't know, man.
I had to climb that pile of corpses once. I'm really not thrilled to want to do it again.
I heard Trevenant came out recently.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing, is that like I've always kept like a loose eye on it, because it's still interesting for me to watch. I just don't feel the urge to play it, and I'm not even sure why. Yeah, I don't know. It ran its course for me, basically, and I just haven't been back. But Trevenant isn't even the good one. If I come back to it, I'd be playing Greedent. That'd be my boy. Just running around stealing people's shit and eating berries. Kind of like what I do day to day anyway. So obviously with ranked no longer being as fun, I know that last week we discussed that the single player was still pretty good. I assume you probably drained that of all of its meaningful content.
Not yet. Like I was kind of like frustrated with it, like the whole thing. So I just sort of put it down. Maybe I will go back to it over the weekend. There's just so many games coming out. Like
that is true.
Well, there's not even games coming
is.
out. There are games leaving Game Pass, and because I refuse to buy games anymore, I'm like, well, I might as well play these. So I've got to play Control and Code Vein before the 15th of December. Sorry, and by 15th of December, I mean 15th of February.
That's not Final Fantasy 12, man.
I've played Final Fantasy 12.
Why did you ask for recommendations from that list if you played Final Fantasy 12?
I wanted to see if anybody would recommend it.
For
of course I'll recommend
context, Steve asked the group off air, obviously, don't know why I felt the need to say that, that here are the games leaving Game Pass, which one should I play? And I think we all gave him a different answer, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
I told him to give Code Vein a try, but he might not stick with it after an hour.
I
I've
told him
heard
to
good-
give
yeah.
Control a go, and I stand by that. Control, excellent game. I sort of played it a couple of years ago before FTL really became a thing, but maybe I'll, boot that up again. There's some DLC that I haven't played, might boot that up and talk about it sometime in the future. And Josh obviously recommended Final Fantasy.
Well, if he's already played Final Fantasy, my next recommendation would also be Control. Though I've yet to play it, I've seen a lot about it, and Remedy Entertainment, they make good stuff. So yeah, I've played Code Vein, and I don't think Steven will particularly enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's why I said it's a soft recommendation. I don't think he'd stick with it unless it's like something that just kind of sticks because of the way the combat mechanics are in the game. because that's the most interesting part of it, I think.
I think you just have to be really into those style of games to really enjoy what Code Vein brings to the table. I didn't really enjoy it that much, but I don't play enough of those style of games to enjoy it. So
You're mostly a Dark Souls person, and that's it. Even the other FromSoft games, from what I know, you weren't too into.
no.
Yeah, because Code Vein is like anime Dark Souls, from my very, very, very vague understanding of it.
More anime Bloodborne.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
Which explains why I don't like it. Bloodborne was horrible.
It wasn't, Josh.
I'm
Its
gonna
soundtrack
press
was
X to
good.
doubt that one there, boy.
Maybe if it ran more than 30 frames, maybe I would have enjoyed it.
The human eye can't see more than 24.
Well, hey, I got something for you. There's the Bloodborne PS1 demake that runs at unkept frame rates.
Yeah, no, actually, I did.
I
Look
love
at that, and I
every
was
word in
tempted to
that
give it a go.
sentence.
I hate DMX so much.
It looks like Valheim.
I hate DMX so much.
All right, cool. So any updates on whether you'd recommend other people play it or not? Is the ranked enough of a turn off, or are you just going to give it a bit of a cool down and then approach it again and see how you feel?
Look, it's free to play. If you even have a very vague nostalgia for Yu-Gi-Oh, I'd recommend picking it up just for the solo sort of stuff. Just sort of see if you want to get back into it. I can't not recommend it to people because it's free. I'd just be a heavy caveat, like play the solo mode, see, like you know that there are new mechanics in Yu-Gi-Oh and it's not the same that it was 20 years ago. If you don't like it, don't spend any more time because it is like a big time investment.
Honestly, I think the best way to handle it is to go, hey, make a deck that you enjoy and then just make a lobby with friends if they're also interested in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I'd recommend that as well. It's something I haven't done, but it's something that that's a good thing to do.
Cool. Thank you, Steve, for that. Now, hey everyone, Patrick here from the Fast Travel Lounge. I'm fast traveling from the future to tell you that before we recorded episode 10, we had no idea we would end up speaking about Pokemon Legends: Arceus for 90 minutes. So we decided that it would be better to keep episode 10 to a similar length to the other episodes and just move all of the Pokemon Legends: Arceus chat to a separate spoiler-casty second episode type thing. So be sure to look out for that as a separate upload and enjoy the rest of episode 10. And after that, probably too long discussion on Pokemon Legends: Arceus, thank you, Steve, we will now move into part 2, which is news. And first up on the docket, everyone loves him. He's back. It's Reggie from Nintendo, and he's writing a book.
Yeah, he is. It looks pretty good. It's going to be a bunch of stories of the gaming industry, of how he was just a young kid in the Bronx in New York, and then he sort of made his way up, and then he became king of Nintendo, and he became such of a titan of the industry, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's a shame I don't...
actually... Oh, sorry, finish your point.
Oh no, I was just going to say, like, it's a shame it's not being made in like a visual novel form. Not yet. Maybe someone will do a nice ROM hack of something.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be a movie adaptation as well.
I hope he writes about his Pizza Hut arc.
One more time, big fella?
I said I hope he writes about his Pizza Hut arc when he was like a manager of a Pizza Hut.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, before he worked at Nintendo, he ran some Pizza Hut chains, I'm pretty sure.
Could you imagine just ringing in to order a pizza and Reggie himself answers the phone?
Man, this would have been way before he was a known name, though.
Hey, is Doug Bowser there?
Hey, buddy, can you fill some me pizza up?
Could I get a half pizza with left beef?
You know, if Doug Bowser is there, I'm also kind of expecting Chris Pratt to be there.
I'm so sick of this joke. It hurts me every fucking time.
Now the voice of Reggie, Chris Pratt.
True.
He is the voice of Mario, I guess, but it's not a far leap.
Is that what we're voice acting in Pokemon? Chris Pratt?
That's why there's none.
God damn it, it's going to be so hard to get through these stories, isn't it? Before we were recording this, Josh, you weren't aware that Reggie was the OG source for the My Body Is Ready line.
No, I wasn't, which is an interesting take. I don't remember if it was in the article for Kotaku or not, which was the person that, or the company that wrote this article. But yeah, I had no idea that it was like a Wii Fit thing, which is hilarious to me, because I can just imagine it. I don't even need to see it.
Yeah, no, I've seen that clip so many times. It's fantastic.
I had no idea. And like I say it like on the daily. I had no idea it was a Reggie thing.
Yeah, I too say it daily, and I think at one stage I might have known it was Reggie, but I just use it so much that it was a nice surprise to be reminded that it was Reggie. But cool, yeah. Hopefully, hopefully this book goes well. It's the sort of thing that actually sounds kind of interesting. I might even Yeah, I might pick it up. Depending on if it's going for Nintendo prices or not, and never goes on sale. Anyway, next up on the ticket
You're gonna
list.
get the steelbook cover? I had to make the joke.
oh, Amiibo, surely. Reggie Amiibo. Give me.
I want one like that, but with a bobblehead. I think it'd be excellent.
So before we leave the book to rest, just wanted to point out that it's coming out in the US on May 3rd. But it's coming out over at least on Amazon Australia. It's coming out August 3rd.
Damn, I'll just ship it from
Thank
the
you
US.
for
pirate it.
people that hear that there's a book coming out probably should also know when it's coming out. Thank you for that, Seth. Next up on the list, we have the studio behind Shovel Knight, or the people behind Shovel Knight, putting their latest game or newest game up on Kickstarter. Seth, you had some thoughts on this?
Yeah. So I'll save the thoughts for a little later. But to get into what the game actually is, it's called Mina the Hollower. And it looks to be, stylistically, it's based on Game Boy Color games, but it looks like it's very heavily based on Castlevania and maybe a little bit of Link's Awakening. And yeah, from the trailer they've shown and like everything about it, it looks genuinely fantastic. And I'd be really happy to play it. But my thoughts on it being in Kickstarter, at first I was very surprised to hear it was a Kickstarter game, because after Shovel Knight being such a runaway success to the point where they have official amiibo for Shovel Knight, I would have thought that the company was kind of in a point where they're self-sufficient enough to make a game like this on their own and self-publish. And to a point, they are. They have a little section in here that says, why did they go to Kickstarter? And they straight out say that they're not in dire straits anymore and they're financing the majority of the game. The main reason they're going to Kickstarter is because they want to build a universe with the community around it from like the go, which I don't know, it kind of sounds corporate greedy to me.
It's just buying the game before it's out. So maybe they are trying to do it in a weird way to reverse gain interest.
Yeah, it's kind of like, to me, it's like a false sense of let's start building fan art and the community stuff around the game before it's out. Unlike Shovel Knight, which naturally had that. They're trying to hit the iron again with this by doing the exact same method.
Well, I'd be interested if, I assume that because it's such big names attached to this Kickstarter, it's going to get funded no matter what level. Yeah.
Oh, it already is. It was funded in hours.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I'd be curious.
So they were only asking for 300,000, I think it's USD, which isn't that much when you think about the cost of a game dev. So I think they were using, like what Steven said, Kickstarter more as a marketing tool. And to generate further ideas and discussion around the game to see maybe where they can take the game, rather than as a base for just funding the game itself, which is interesting.
Right, but but just as a thought experiment though, what happens if you put a thing up for Kickstarter and you don't get funded, and then the Kickstarter falls over? There's no money coming in either from the Kickstarter or no way of doing like the annual updates and things because the Kickstarter wasn't funded. I just wonder how much, obviously it's entirely hypothetical, but I wonder how much would change if for whatever reason the Kickstarter fell through.
I'd say maybe it'd be a bit of a shorter game and there'd be like less community things here. I don't even know if there's any stretch goals in here. There are, but the ones that have been hit are putting a sound test into the game and putting cheat codes into the game. And they're definitely going to be like development heavy stuff for coding and everything, but they're not major things in my eyes. Like they're not like whole new levels or like a whole post game sort of thing or anything. They're like miscellaneous stuff.
Right. Well, the only point that I'm trying to make there is that if a company comes out and says, we're financing most of it ourselves, we just want to do this for the press, like, okay, so put the funding level to, I don't know, some minuscule thing and tell people not to donate to it until it's out. Obviously, people aren't going to do that. People are going to go and put money at it where they can. But I'm just saying, it's kind of like a put your money where your mouth is sort of thing. 'Cause it's like, oh, we don't really need the Kickstarter money, but we've also raised however many hundreds of thousands of dollars on the back of it. I'm sure they're not going to turn their noses up at it.
I'll give you one word, Patrick. Pre-order.
I know. I'm just saying it annoys me when the language from a company is like, we don't need to do this, but we want to do this. And you're like, okay, well then don't do it.
Yeah, because like I said, Shovel Knight's got them a massive community and a massive following. They've got the resources to do like community things again, and like just Yacht Club is doing another game is interest enough for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I like this. This is very confusing to me why they did Kickstarter as a route for the game when, from the sounds of it, they don't need it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if they say we need to kickstart this game, fine. I don't believe you, but fine. But don't give me this like, oh, we just want to like market it and build a community and stuff. Bullshit. When you have several $100,000, like thousands of dollars coming in via Kickstarter anyway. But anyway, we'll have to see how it goes. Yeah, I guess.
Have you guys had any success with Kickstarters that you've backed before? Just sort of as a
No.
weird
Ending number 9.
Ugh.
No.
Did you actually back that?
Yeah, I backed my number 9 and I backed Bloodstained, which is actually a good game. Bloodstained is actually a really good game.
Bloodstained's good.
Okay, yeah, I've heard good things about Bloodstained. Yeah.
I think the only things I've backed have been ones that have some kind of physical asset, like board games and card games and stuff like that. Which half of which never came out.
Yeah, I also backed that Cyanide and Happiness card game.
Yeah, same. Joking Hazard. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also did one for Exploding Kittens.
Is that any good?
I haven't played it.
You need other people to play with, unfortunately. We haven't played it.
Joking Hazard is good. It's basically just a picture version of Cards Against Humanity, though. So if you have one, you kind of have the other. It's not a huge difference between them.
Yeah, you know what you're running into.
So sort of like what do you meme or something? Yeah, right.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Special shout out for Unstable Games though. They're the makers of, so their main flagship thing is as it says on the tin, Unstable Unicorns, which I've never played, but they, I guess, created the studio after the success of the game on Kickstarter. But they've got a few that they do Kickstarters for, or did Kickstarters for, and one of them was Here to Slay, which I bought and have been playing. Even with just 2 people, it's way more fun with more. But even just 2 people, it's a good time. So yeah, I've had some success. I've also had some failures, but that's sort of the roll of the dice with Kickstarter, right? Like, it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, it do be like that. Yeah, every now and then I'll back something. I don't think I've had any of my things actually ever come through. Maybe one day.
It do be like that sometimes. Sometimes I'll just put money at something and it'll just go into the dumpster.
Well, yeah, usually it'll be like...
We call that crypto.
Please stop bringing that up.
Oh, is that... Wait, Steve, did you buy your
hurts me too,
Microsoft
don't
stocks on Kickstarter?
How else am I supposed to buy them? How else am I supposed to buy them?
I bought them through some guy in the alleyway.
Is the stretch goal that will make the stocks worth more after you put a certain amount of money in?
We'll buy Bethesda, and then straight afterwards we'll buy Activision.
And then after that, they're going to release the Xbox
Stretch
2.
goal $70 billion. We will buy Activision Blizzard. Stretch goal unlocked.
It comes up with like a little rare achievement noise and everything.
Yeah.
No.
Early backer stamp.
I'd back it just for that noise.
Anyway, we should probably move on though. We got a more of a look at Gran Turismo 7. It looks fine. I know that amongst us we were a bit split on how good or not good it looks. I don't think anyone thinks it looks bad. I think we should say that outright. It doesn't look bad, but I don't think it looks as good as I was maybe expecting Gran Turismo 7 to look.
I think it's probably important to make a distinction here. I think the game itself looks like every other Gran Turismo game, so 10 out of 10, keen to play it. The graphics on it compared to other recent car titles are probably not up to par with what we were expecting, at least internally here. So yeah, the game itself looks good.
Yeah, and the car models look pretty good. It's just the racetracks and the environments.
I like the ray tracing stuff they're doing as well. I think maybe what you guys are lamenting about the graphics might shift when this eventually comes to PC, because this was on the Nvidia leak of coming to PC eventually.
Oh, cool. I don't have to buy it on PS5 and pay double for it. Sweet.
Yeah, exactly. You just fix up your computer and play it in like 9 months.
Hey, you got to come at me like that, bro. Also, I'd probably have to plug in the DualSense controller because the adaptive triggers sound really cool.
Yeah, the adaptive trigger stuff sounds really cool. The 2 things I wanted to mention with this is what they're doing with the music stuff in this game.
Please, yeah, tell us about that.
One of the modes they have is you just race along a track and see how far you can get within the time limit of a song that's playing.
That's cool.
Cool.
That's a really chill way to just play through the game and just listen to a song that you really like.
Sounds like audio surf.
That's really
That'd
cool.
be excellent.
Yeah. That's really like audio surf actually. Good call. Yeah. That's cool.
So that's an interesting twist on like a time trial sort of mode. But the other thing that I think is really cool, and more games should do this, is when you have a song playing for your replays, they automatically do camera cuts during the replays, depending on like the tempo or
So
just
cool.
the rhythm of the song. So like a bass drop will hit or something, or like a drum crash will happen, and they'll do a camera cut to go along with like that section of the music, and I think that's kind of cool.
You get to really see where the car leaves the track and goes flying into the other people in the online lobby. Right
Yeah,
at
I can
the
imagine
correct
it was
moments
like
on the
a
music.
bass hit and like the wheels lock up for everyone and
Yeah.
there's nothing but carnage. Like,
See, since it's based on a car, since it's based on a race replay, it'd be really hard to get the timing of that. But when it happens, it'll be peak.
it'll be hilarious. I can't wait to see those
Well.
tweets of people sharing that. Like, look what I managed to cause. It took me 5 attempts, but look what I've done.
You just know people are going to clip that on Twitter.
But yeah, the way they're handling music in this game is really, really cool. And before today, I had forgotten that Gran Turismo has some fucking bangers.
They do. All of their soundtracks are excellent. Highly. I mean, that's every car game almost, but like,
True.
yeah, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, any other points that you want? Because it was like a 16-minute video, which people can go and find on YouTube. Any other standouts for anyone? Or should we move on?
I guess real quick, the skybox stuff was kind of interesting. They took like real meteorology data to make the skyboxes accurate to the locations of the world the racetracks are in. Oh, excuse me. Oh, choking on myself.
Really likes the skybox, huh?
Yeah, it's very pretty. But yeah, they got like actual scientific data of like how humidity and everything affects like racetracks, and so yeah, they're trying to make like atmospherically accurate to the world.
So I was saying this to Patrick earlier when we were watching it, but I think I couldn't care less for the most part about any of that stuff unless it actually affects the racing. Like if it increases the speed that your tires heat up, or makes your car, like if it's pouring down rain and it's a different atmosphere, so it's cooler temperatures and your car can run hotter for longer or whatever. Like all of that stuff is really cool and would affect the game in really niche ways depending on what track you're on. And I think that would be excellent, but just for the sake of coloring the sky, I just could not care less. Which is, I don't know, it's interesting to see where they take that.
It's
Well,
like
like,
because
what
I saw that same piece. Sorry, I'll let you speak in a sec. It was like in the video they introduce it as when you're racing in Japan, the sky will look like it looks like it would in Japan, and it's like I don't even know what the sky outside my room looks like.
Yeah.
if I'm going to go to some foreign racetrack, how am I going to know? Like, wow, yeah, that really looks like when I was last in, the Nürburgring or whatever the hell. But cool idea. And again, if it's got a gameplay hook to it in some way, then sweet, I'm all for it. And yeah, looks stunning, sure, but it's weird to draw attention to it if, I don't know, if a lot of people like me who just aren't in the camp of knowing enough to appreciate it. But sorry, what were you going to say?
Also, when the environments around the track look so dull in comparison. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't own a PS5 and I'm probably not going to get it because my gaming laptop will catch fire, or even watching the YouTube video for it. It'd be really interesting to sort of see what they do with the weather effects, and that comes in because from what, just tailoring on from what you were saying, Pat, it seems like they're doing some weird things with how the weather is supposed to be coming in based on the location and the time that you're playing. Like it'd be, again, the humidity is supposed to change. You've already mentioned that, but how much of that kind of stuff does change it? Is it like if it's sprinkling, you're sort of fine? If it's pissing down, you're in strife. If it's just really hot, your driver gets all sticky.
Well, Gran Turismo does have the raining sort of mechanics and has for a while. It sort of fashions itself as like a real world driving simulator. I think it's like tagline. But beyond the rain or the snow or whatever happens to be there, I don't think anything will make a difference. But that actual function of like, hey, it's pouring down rain, you need to brake longer, straighter, all that kind of stuff. That's in the game. But yeah, it's just a weird way to take it, to be honest with you, just to go to this level of depth.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to like hardcore go into it, but I think this was very much a thing of like, because Gran Turismo is touted as like that very accurate driving simulator, that this is another layer of trying to make things accurate for those junkies.
Yep.
Yeah, which
That's
I'm
fair
all about it. Like things like iRacing and stuff have like almost a cult following where they are far more simulator. Gran Turismo started out very arcadey and has gone more simulate, like more of a simulator kind of side of things. almost like what Forza is. Not Forza Horizon, but just Forza.
Yeah, Forza
Where
Motorsport.
it's Forza Motorsport. It's like that weird mix between this is kind of arcadey, but if I turn off the controls, like the auto assist and whatnot, it is very similar to driving a car, especially if you hook up like pedals and steering wheels and whatnot. Obviously, I'm not a professional race driver, but it's pretty accurate, I think, to what I would expect it to behave like. So it sounds like it's going to be the next step in what they want it to do. I just don't know if they're there yet, or they haven't said anything specific about it.
You strike me as the sort of person that would take your Honda Accord to the Bathurst, the old to
the
do a couple of
Bathurst.
laps. Yeah, do a couple of laps at Bathurst.
We have Eastern Creek Raceway.
Yeah,
It's like
Eastern
10 minutes from
Creek.
us.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, no,
When's Eastern Creek gonna be put into Gran Turismo?
that'd be cool. But
The skies above Eastern Creek will look like.
Man, it feels like 55 degrees out here.
yeah. Oh man. Oh,
you go to
it's
the pit stop
roughly
and it's
50
just-
degrees and 80% humidity. Does sound like Australia.
Just imagine it's just like, it's 50 degrees outside. You're like, yeah, okay, so that's what's the engine doing. What's the outside temp like? No, that is the
No,
outside
that
temp.
is the outside temp. Yeah.
Yeah, no, cool. Yeah, obviously, Gran Turismo, that's right around the corner, isn't it? March release?
It's like a month away. I think
Yeah.
it's exactly 1 month.
Is it
will be
March 3rd?
It's early March. Pretty sure it's early March. But yeah, we'll have to wait and
It is March 4th.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So March 3rd in places that aren't Australia, New Zealand. Sweet. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, and I'm sure we'll probably end up discussing that at some point in the future. To other news, more sad news. Sad day for people that listen to OSTs everywhere. One of the heroes of the industry just got himself 3,500 YouTube takedown notices. Seth, I think you were probably you were crying the loudest when we all had a group sob about this before recording.
Yeah, Gilversana is Gilversana is a hero on YouTube because he's put so many game OSTs on the channel, basically because they're not available anywhere else officially. So a lot of the stuff he got taken down was related to Nintendo soundtracks, like Legend of Zelda soundtracks, Mario soundtracks, Splatoon. He had damn near everything on his channel, and it was fantastic. Like, if you just needed a game soundtrack to listen to while you were working or doing anything really, you could just get to their channel and put on one of their playlists because it was very thorough. And I'm pretty sure they also extended everything out to like 10, 15, or even 30 minutes. So it was a very big channel that's been running for like 11 years, maybe more. And all of that's going out the window because Nintendo just smack them with copyright IDs.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he's made the decision that basically, because everything has been almost stripped off his channel, that he'll just remove the channel itself this coming Friday, which is tomorrow for us. So by the time you listen to this, it will no longer exist.
Yeah, and he went with this decision because it's there's so many things he'd have to fight through that it's just not worth it.
I mean, a takedown notice takes roughly 3 months to fight against, and you can only fight against one at a time, if I'm not mistaken. This is after, there was an anime channel that went through something similar in the last 2 weeks.
Totally Not Mark just went through that
Yeah.
over the Christmas break.
Yeah, so, yeah, 3,500. 3,500 is just an insurmountable number of claims to try and fight back on.
It's probably just because like the individual songs, like how much, like one gameplay has like 20 songs on an OST, probably even more, 40 or 60 depending on longer ones. Yeah, no, it's a shame.
It's a shame. It's actually easier to find lo-fi remixes of game soundtracks than it is to find the original game soundtrack now, which is just wild to me.
Arguably better because the lo-fi
Yeah.
remixes are sometimes better.
Sometimes.
And also
Lo-fi
because
do.
it's Nintendo, there's a high chance you just can't get these in an official mean anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you did want to get it officially, it's like you got to pay like $14,000 for one CD that was printed 20 years ago, and it's printed on like a mini CD that no one has a reader
Yeah.
for anymore.
If it's even available, yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
Pour one out.
Yeah. We're all gonna pour one out for our boy, Gilversana. You were the best of us. Moving into weirder news, the New York Times bought out Wordle on the back of how well we shilled it last episode. That was kind of crazy.
I'm telling you, like,
Galactic now this.
We interrupted our news section just to talk about this, and now it's in our news section proper.
Yeah, I'm kind of So the story goes that New York Times bought Wordle, the game that everyone knows and loves, and you'd have to think that if they bought Wordle for, I think the article mentions undisclosed sum, but low 7-figure.
It was a low end of 7 digits.
Yeah, which
1 million on the
well
dot.
done.
1 million on the dot.
1 million and 1 cent.
Anywhere between 1 million to 5 million.
Yeah.
Which anywhere between that is fucking well done for something.
Yeah, well,
like Wordle.
well done. What was it? Thomas Wardle?
Josh Wardle.
Josh Wardle.
Wardle, yeah.
Well done, man. Excellent job getting that as a payday. But I'm skeptical that New York Times isn't going to do something weird with it.
Well, their wording was that the game would, in quotes, initially remain free for existing and new players. So Wordle's dead.
Yeah.
Like, it'll die, and no one's gonna play it except for like the 50-year-olds that subscribe to the newspaper.
So this one reminded me. Do you guys remember House Party?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Wow.
Do you guys remember that House Party was bought by Epic?
Yeah.
And then it completely faded into obscurity.
And then- yeah. And now it's just like
That's cool. I forgot about that.
it got bought by Epic right before everyone decided House Party's shit. Which
Coincidence?
I don't know. It
I
just
think not.
it it just feels like this is kind of history repeating itself, where like literally millions of people are playing Wordle every day, and New York Times is going to buy it, and the moment they mess with any part of that formula, it's going to go down. I'd almost stake money on it if I had any money to stake on things.
I give it 3 months before it goes behind a subscription paywall,
Yeah.
and then it's just dead.
Yeah.
The moment it hits that subscription, it's gone.
Well, I've even got friends now.
I would literally rather that they bought it and then on-sold it as an app for an arbitrary amount of money that
Yeah.
wasn't a subscription base. If they made it like $5, even $10, I would probably buy it because I'm enjoying it that much. But the fact that there's going to be no option for this and it's going to be yet another subscription coming out of people's things, they're not going to buy it. Like, why would they?
Yeah, no way.
There was a great line. It was so in the article. This article specifically is from Reuters. There's a quote from a tweet. So here we are, just layers upon layers of the original source of this, which it isn't listed. But the New York Times took one nice and simple thing that a lot of people really liked, a dumb bit of fun in our exhaustingly dark times, and implied they'll stick it behind a paywall.
Yeah, it's
And
just capitalism in a nutshell, isn't it?
Sums it up. But my heart.
Yeah, honestly, like, it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to recreate, so I expect as soon as it becomes behind a paywall, someone will release some other version of it that's open source probably, and people can continue playing it.
I mean, there's already other versions like Letterall and Loodle that exist right now, so there's already copycats that aren't exactly Wordle, but like once Wordle is like in the trash, people will make alternatives to replace it.
Yeah.
What surprised me as well was I found out that there was initially a list of like 10,000 odd words, and him and his girlfriend were finding it rather difficult because it would do very obscure words that they'd never heard of. So he gave a list to his girlfriend and said, okay, filter these like by the words you know, and there ended up being about 2,500 of them. Now, if you do that by 365, there's not that many years that they could run this app for, and they purchased it in the millions. Like, they must expect it to die, but it's interesting. It's
Realistically,
as long as it increases their subscribers by 2025, they don't care.
Yeah.
well, I don't even reckon like it'll last that long. Like, I've got friends that have already sort of been like, I'm sort of sick of it. Like,
I enjoy it a lot. I'm a habit kind of person, right? Like, when it takes 2 minutes out of my day and friends are sort of sending
joy.
it to me, then it gave me a little bit of joy, and it's like, it was a good way to wake up. But
in the moment the New York Times bought it, that good feeling went.
it did. Now I just feel sad when I do it.
And a personal message to Josh Wardle. I know you're a big fan. It's fine. We don't ask for much, but a kickback of 1,000, 2,000, we'll call it square.
Help us launch that Patreon.
Just get in touch with us. fasttravellounge@gmail.com, and we'll discuss payment. Cheers, buddy. Looking forward to the letter. And enjoy the Bahamas.
Mad Bank too. He was a software engineer for some pretty reputable places before he sold this as well. So yeah. Anyway, should we move on to the next bit of news?
Yeah, we'll move on. And the next, we got a few different stories here, and they're all related to a follow-up to last week's story of Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. Sony said, hold my beer, I want to be on that train too, and went and bought Bungie for, what are we at, 3.6 billion? If I'm not mistaken.
3.6. Yeah.
Yep. So Microsoft owns Crash Bandicoot, and now Sony owns the people that made Halo.
this is truly the weirdest of timelines.
I don't know
saw
about
a
you guys.
thing earlier that was,
I'm waiting for Nintendo next week to announce that they bought Rockstar.
Honestly,
Well,
I
see,
think Sony will buy Rockstar at some point. I wouldn't surprise me at all.
It wouldn't. Yeah.
But yeah,
wouldn't-
talking about Nintendo, I was going to leave that for a little bit later, but there's an additional note to this news of that Nintendo has openly said, like just a couple hours ago, that they're open to doing acquisitions of their own now, and that they think they're only halfway into the Switch's life cycle.
Yeah, although one of those tweets, the one pertaining to acquisitions, that for the most part they said that they weren't going to look at changing their investment strategy on the back of these acquisitions, but, you know, that they'd be open to acquisitions in the future. So it sounds like that they're fairly okay with the way things are at the moment, but if something comes along in the future, did you get a different take on that, Seth?
I wouldn't be surprised if like they bought Mercury Steam recently because of how well they did on Metroid.
Yeah, it's probably just a lot of absorptions. I'm in the same
Metroid
sort
is
of boat.
effectively a Nintendo IP anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, crazy idea.
Yeah, but the team that made Metroid Dread is a third party.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo just bought them out to make more Metroid.
Crazy idea. Nintendo says, hold my beer, and then buys Sony.
Nintendo wouldn't have the money to buy Sony.
Or maybe Sony's
they
gaming
get a-
division.
they get a
If maybe Sony's
they
gaming
get a-
department,
yeah.
but
They
Sony
get-
as
they
a
get
whole.
No. They get a loan from all those gold coins in Bowser's castles across like all the game world, and then they go to Sony with these giant, cartoonishly large bags of money, and they just say, "We'll buy it."
Well, that's how
We'll take-
Microsoft
we'll
did
take
Mario's
your
for
entire
already,
stock.
Mario has already ransacked all those gold coins.
Okay, so the hot take of the day is that it'll be as good as the Mario movie is. So Chris Pratt is the voice of how good Nintendo will be.
Right, ignoring that disaster.
Sorry,
I
I lost my
just
train
wanna
of
point
thought
out
on the way.
that Microsoft originally bought Bungie, and then they either let Bungie go or Bungie left Microsoft for some reason to go to Activision, and then Microsoft bought Activision straight just after Bungie leaves, and now Bungie's going to Sony. So like, what? Where is
There's definitely an abusive relationship going on there.
Yeah, they're like anything to stay away from Microsoft.
I don't think Microsoft ever owned Bungie, but they wanted to acquire them. But Bungie was very adamant about staying their own studio.
Or apparently, like Bungie tried to sell themselves to Microsoft, and Microsoft thought they were like overvaluing themselves, so they said, "No, go away, come back later." But these are how
And
all
then they
these
buy
rumors.
Activision for $70 billion.
Yeah,
After the
show 'em.
worst scam
Yeah.
that Activision has been in like the better part of 3 decades of scams.
Yeah.
That's wild to me.
Honestly, I think a lot of that money for the Activision deal might have something to do with King.
I reckon it's more probably just
Yeah,
the IP.
probably.
It's probably just the
King
IP
does
itself.
have a lot of money.
Candy Crush is a lot of money on
Yeah.
the table.
It is. yeah,
Soccer
which is
Mom's got a lot of
insane.
dough.
That's probably the most money they'll ever make.
Yeah, and so as part of the Sony, I realized we sort of touched a whole bunch of different news stories here. So back to the original one, Sony buying Bungie. Some of that money is on retention policies to keep people at Bungie, which I thought was an interesting take, because normally you hear about these large acquisitions and you just expect large amounts of staff turnover to be a part of it, but it sounds like Sony is really trying to avoid that with this, which I thought was an interesting take.
Yeah, 1/3 of the value is to keep people employed at Bungie.
Which is a lot when you think about it.
And I think that's a really smart move, because the studio is one thing, but it's the people behind the studio that are the main things you're trying to acquire in these big deals.
Yeah, once the big names leave the studio, like they're not really as valuable for the brand's name as you would imply.
Yeah.
Like the industry puts a lot of value on the team names and not so much on the people behind them. So like when you just see the name, you'll see the name Bungie on something later, but if the people that made Bungie what they are aren't there anymore, then you're not promised the same type of value in my eyes.
I follow a few different people actually from Bungie on Twitter, and one of them is an art artist. And they've had nothing but positive things to say that I've seen. So it obviously there's made an impression, which is good. You don't want these people like disappearing.
That seems to happen with most studio buyouts though, because a lot of people that work at Activision and Blizzard places were saying they were really excited that Microsoft was buying them out as well. So like just
Yeah, but that's because they're not going to be under Bobby Kotick for much longer.
Yeah. Activision Blizzard was on fire.
Yeah, that's because 68 billion of that deal is going to Bobby Kotick to tell him to fuck off.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I just mean in the sense of like when these happen, you always get like a bunch of developers saying they're very excited for their future after the buyout.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah,
get
but-
excited about what the future will hold, and you're probably optimistic about what's going to be.
I mean, I was part of a well, very, very, actually the largest, I think, buyout in Australia's history for a financial company very recently. And there was nothing but nerves for the most part. So it's interesting that it seems to be like so one-sided that I have seen, where it's just nothing but positive, if that makes sense. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think when it comes to a creative industry, it's like maybe a buyout means we get more creative freedom.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, especially if they're trying to keep people there, then you can sort of leverage and say, well, you know, what we've been doing clearly works, so you wouldn't want to keep us, so let us dig further into this, which would be cool. So
yeah, and in like trying to keep people there, I think we also got a very good idea of why they're trying to keep people there so much, because PlayStation and the part of the deal with PlayStation and Bungie is that PlayStation wants Bungie Studio to help them with live service games.
I hate that so much.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, like as much as I'm like very iffy on Destiny, it's as a franchise and like across the industry, it's seen as a massive success. So Sony wants a piece of that pie, and to the point they're saying they're going to launch 10 live service games by 2026.
That's gonna be.
That's a really short timeline.
That is 4 years.
I imagine that a lot of that's already in development.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
It would have
10
to be,
of them,
but 10. Yeah. To
Yeah.
have 10, like, short, let's say there are 20 in development. To have 10 released in the next 4 years is a crazy high number to me.
There's going to be a God of War one, a Last of Us one,
An Uncharted,
an Uncharted one, yeah.
And a Crash
What other games does
Bandicoot.
Sony have?
Yeah.
No, not Crash Bandicoot. That's
Demon
that's what
Souls.
I guess they already launched Destruction All Stars, which fell flat on its face.
You know what? Out of all the games that Sony own, Gran Turismo would be the one I'd play the most of if it was live service. I'd be semi-okay with that.
They did talk about Gran Turismo being continually updated to bring in new cars and tracks down the line.
Nah.
That'd be the one I'd be okay with, because you can only break that in so many ways, to be honest with you.
It's car racing. How hard could it be?
Exactly. They just add like push bikes.
Gran Turismo Horizon.
Just make the car racing good, Fivehead.
This deal is like, the way they're talking about it at the moment is very confusing to me, because it seems like Sony's thrown money at Bungie for Bungie to get all the benefits. Like, Bungie's very adamant about like they're going to stay independent, they're still going to release games on everything and basically still be a third-party company, but they're using Sony's resources to expand their universes, so we might see like a Destiny movie come from a Sony studio down the line or something.
I think
and
that, just to sort of stop there, like a studio having its own creative freedom as a studio is one thing, but having access to talent that may move around internally is something else entirely, especially if they're looking at live service games and how they can best implement that stuff. You can have the cross talent working on multiple different things, or even just say, hey, you know, you've been put out, there's an opportunity for you to evolve out of your role into this role. That's a new thing we're spinning up, right? And you can move talent across and just actually have that, you know, not necessarily absorb a company, but remove certain key features after they're in and out of development for where they need them. And I think that's going to be the big reason why.
yeah, I can see that, but when it comes to game development as well, I kind of go with the opinion that you don't buy out a company for this big of investment and say, oh no, it's okay, release your games on the competition's platforms.
We'll look at ZeniMax and Activision right then. Like, they're still releasing.
They've already said that like their future games aren't coming to PlayStation after their contracts are done, though.
That's not in stone. That's not, you know, they're not saying that no games will come out. They're basically coming out and saying don't expect it to. There's nothing to stop them still releasing the next Elder Scrolls. Like, I'm not saying that it's likely. I don't think it is likely. But they could if they really wanted to keep releasing things in that market. Like, Microsoft in general has been recently a big fan of trying to get everything on every platform. So they've released games on PlayStation, they've released games on Switch, they've released almost everything they can on PC. So it wouldn't surprise me to have these big investments be more about the games and the profit that they generate rather than the console itself and exclusivity. I think Sony's probably a bit backwards with that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, Sony, if coming from the Sony side of things, Sony is very adamant on like their ecosystem, and they do want to branch a little bit, but not to the point where I think they're okay with releasing their games on other consoles, but to the point where they're okay releasing on PC now. But even then, it's to a delayed point where it's like,
am I still interested
a
in
bunch
this
of
game 5
PS4
years
games
later?
are coming to
Like,
like they're coming 5 years later. There's rumors that some PS5 games are going to start coming, but they're like a year later at this point, maybe like 2 years. They're very much about their own ecosystem, so it's very surprising to see them buy up a company, but the company still being very adamant about their future releases being fun, because I don't expect Destiny 2 to be locked behind PlayStation forever now. But like a future Bungie game, I would kind of expect to be PlayStation only.
So does this mean that PlayStations are getting Anthem too?
That's an EA game.
It is too. Wasn't it made by Bungie though?
No, that was made by BioWare.
Oh, it's BioWare. That's okay. Never mind.
No, that was the trifecta in the can BioWare release something that's not shit, please?
Yep. Okay. Yep.
and the answer was no.
Maybe I'm just so worried about BioWare being eaten up.
Being taken to the farm by EA, you mean?
Yeah, and then shot behind the
Go the
barn,
way.
yeah.
Go the way of Maxis.
So Bungie have done Destiny, they've done Halo, they did a game called Oni. They did, I think that's about it, to be honest. Marathon, I think
Yeah,
was
sounds
them.
about right, because when they were with Microsoft, they were basically the Halo company. And they've only been away from Microsoft long enough to do the 2 Destiny games.
Yeah.
Which they've also said that they've got like 3 projects in very early development, like probably just conceptual stages at the moment or even alpha stages. But they do have other projects outside of Destiny in the work.
Okay, so let me put it this way. When I googled Bungie to see what games that they release, the very top thing that
you found the
Google
jump.
says... No. So the very first thing that Google says that people search for is Bungie still making games? So it's been a hot minute.
You know, when you're acquired by Sony, you're kind of expected to just make movies from now on.
Yeah, effectively.
Yeah.
Nothing but cutscenes where I press one button every couple of seconds for me, please.
They look good, but
Yeah.
and they're exclusive, right? Exclusive equals good. That's what they keep telling me. That was
Stop believing
unironic.
it, Steve.
That was unironic. Alright, so let's do some predictions. Who do you think the next big acquisition is going to be?
I told you, Nintendo's going to buy Sony.
I don't want to get into this. I don't want more acquisitions. I don't want the industry to become consolidated the way it's shaping now.
Ubisoft is going to buy an Ubisoft company.
I reckon EA and Ubisoft merge
I think that's been something that I've been expecting for a while.
to create the world's shittest fucking video games.
And arguably the worst desktop application ever seen to man.
EA, Uplay.
Or Origin Uplay.
Oh god,
Both
imagine.
of them are still on
they just-
Game Pass,
just
though.
call it
How good?
Ubisoft desktop application.
And the first game that they release is Sims 5. It's open world and everything's a fetch quest.
I expect Sony to buy Sega.
I honestly have been expecting that for the last 10 years.
Yeah, me too. But I would not be surprised.
Everyone's been on the boat that Microsoft is going to buy Sega for like the past 5 years.
That
I
open
mean,
world
look what they
Sonic
did
game.
to Rare, so I hope not.
Huh.
I also am under the impression that Capcom will start buying out some studios with the success that they've recently had.
Oh,
yeah.
you think so? A lot of people think that Capcom will get bought out instead.
I don't think Capcom would allow it. I think they would have to be struggling in order to accept that. And
Capcom is struggling outside of Resident Evil and Monster Hunter.
they're not
Do,
struggling.
do they make games
financially,
outside of
though.
Resident Evil and Monster
They,
Hunter?
they were almost bankrupt like 5 years
Yeah, but
ago.
the world, baby.
What about
Yeah,
Marvel vs.
so
Capcom?
much money. Oh, don't even.
Maybe they get bought out by Marvel. Then it's just Marvel.
No, I expect Capcom to start trying to fill its roster a little bit more with games that do make money, and I think that'll be buying some indie devs. That's what I'm expecting. Which I'd be fine with some indie devs sort of going under. I think the massive sales, like what Seth's saying, and saturating the market so you end up with a Disney problem is not what I want.
Yeah, and that's kind of like where everything's pointing to. And
Thank you,
I,
EA.
I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this industry war of who can outbid who for
Oh, yeah.
massive shares of
Let's-
the industry.
Yeah, that's what it's coming down to. Microsoft's not even playing against Sony. They're playing against like Google and Amazon. So all they're doing is just gearing up
Yeah,
for
literally.
their upcoming war.
They're just playing chess and everyone
That-
else is playing checkers.
Yeah.
But yeah, in talking of the acquisition, so Jim Ryan, the guy that runs Sony Entertainment at the moment, is saying to absolutely expect them to make more acquisitions.
Yeah, I would not be
But
surprised. They
whether
have
that's
to.
like, yeah, whether that's big, massive purchases or just like developer purchases like Bungie, we'll have to see.
Honestly, I think to anyone that has a lot of tech knowledge, the age of like a dedicated console in general is very quickly coming to an end, even for gaming PCs. It'll end up being...
I don't think so, because they're still selling really well.
Yeah, but you give that 10 years, 20 years, that market is going to be very drastically different. It will be very streams.
People have been saying that for 20 plus years, though.
Yeah, but we now have the data centers in terms of like AWS and Azure and everything, where you could theoretically develop something to be just streaming, which they're trying. They're not doing an amazing job at, but once they get that tech down pat, you'll just have a screen. And I think that Sony integrations with their TVs and everything will play a major part in them actually surviving or failing. But that's just, tech forecast. I don't know how accurate that's going to be. That's what I see it being. I think they need to get IPs and everything under their belt so that they can prepare for that.
But there's massive parts of the world that aren't ready for that, so I think consoles are going to stay for a long time.
They're not massive parts. They're massive parts of the world, right? But they're not massive markets, let's say.
The massive parts of like the gaming world, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of the market is China and the US and Australia and all these other countries that could theoretically do this, assuming Australia's internet doesn't get botched again. Like it, especially, if we come up with some kind of way to deliver like the, what's the Elon Musk thing called? The internet through the Starlink?
Starlink,
Yeah, like even something like that would drastically shift up the momentum for that kind of thing. Because you could deliver it to screens in the world, and all you need is the data center somewhere. You don't need to worry about internet connection if it's being delivered by a wireless satellite. So it's, I don't know, but it's interesting to see where it will fall, I think.
I just think we're not going to see it for a couple of decades.
I'd give it 1.5, maybe less.
Yeah, I've just been like, people have been saying this for 20 years already. I don't see it happening for maybe another 20 anyway.
But where the difference between this is, I think, like, you can stream there was Flash games, right, which were the equivalent of games 20 years ago. I don't think games are going to get that much more advanced that it's going to be a huge leap to keep up with technology in terms of like data center and whatnot. So I don't know. We'll see.
When's Farmville coming to consoles?
Fuck's sake.
Stardew Valley.
No one cares. If anyone out there listening has their own opinions, they can get in touch with us. We have a mailbag, fasttravellounge@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at fasttravellounge -1 of the L's, and Facebook at fasttravellounge. Is Josh right? Is Seth right? Are you right? Let us know. The final piece of news, we sort of already touched on it, but Nintendo basically saying that they're not really looking at changing their investment strategy, but they might be open to acquisitions in the future. Guess we'll sort of see what happens with that. I don't know that we need to discuss too much of that.
There is one part that I want to discuss in that is very quick, but I know Seth is also probably itching at the mouth for this. The fact that Nintendo said, "Hey, the Switch is only halfway through its life cycle," and everyone screamed at the exact same time.
I think that just means like whatever the next. I think they're due for a new console very soon, but it's just going to be a Switch 2.
No, it's going to be the Switch Pro.
I
new
expect
Switch.
it to be like a Switch Pro or the new Switch.
It's been so long since the Switch came out that a Switch Pro is basically a Switch 2 in my eyes.
It is, but I think that for the sake of they don't want another Wii U, they will call it something else.
Switch U.
Imagine.
So imagine.
I think the number strategy works because obviously people go PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. The Wii and the Wii U was such a weird naming scheme, but Switch to Switch 2 makes sense.
I think that
hear me out. The next console's called Switch, like Wii, like in the Switch, like Switch.
Oh God.
Switch.
Shut the fuck up.
Switch U.
It just plays the really cursed Miiverse music.
My vision is that they're going to call it the new Nintendo Switch 3DS.
No, I think they'll probably call it like a Switch 2 or the new
That
Switch.
naming convention was so hard. It was just like, it's the new 3DS. What's different? It's new. Like, okay, and it's got a C stick. Oh, so it is new. Well, no, but it's basically the same. Like, oh, okay, but it's got a C stick. Like, just is it new? Yes. Damn it.
What they need to do.
But it's got the same hardware.
And then they use that C stick for exactly 2 games.
Yeah, it's
What
just
they-
like
One of
help
them
me
being
out here,
Monster
Nintendo.
Hunter.
Yeah, one was Monster Hunter, one was that pit game that no one really played.
Kid Icarus.
I love that Kid Icarus game. It was so good, but it gives.
Kid Icarus game. It was good, but no one I knew played it other than you and me.
You could bind it. You could bind it in Smash. You could bind it in Smash 4.
Oh, could you? I never played Smash on a handheld console because why on earth would I?
What they need to do is just add a second screen to the Switch, and then it's like
And then make it foldable.
Make it
you made it
foldable,
foldable, but then you can close it and
That's
put it in
why
the
I'm
dock.
saying the new Switch 3DS.
Oh my god.
The 1-2 Switch.
What they need to do is add 3D that no one will use into the screen for the Switch.
I heard a wild theory. This was ages ago now, and obviously disproven since. But the that the Switch was capable of not proper VR like the other systems, but that you could do like a semi VR because of the size of the tablet.
Yeah, they had a Labo kit where you could just build a VR headset out of cardboard.
Yeah, I forgot that they turned that into an actual Labo. But yeah, I think there was like a Kickstarter or something that. I don't even know what happened to that, but claiming that you could turn your Switch into VR using basically just optic trickery and some lenses, which I vaguely remember some reviews saying that like it sort of works with a very specific game, but otherwise you're just ruining either your eyes or your gameplay experience or both.
Yeah, or both is probably the kicker there.
But yeah, anyway, any final comments on halfway through Switch lifecycle, or we get to move on?
No, I think
God, please, just mean that you're doing a Switch 2 that's improved hardware.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I will not be able to stand another 5 years of the Switch's shitty hardware.
I think my thoughts are literally that because all of their consoles, handheld or otherwise, have been a huge leap in technology. Whether that technology was wanted or not is another debated thing, but they've been a pretty big generational gap between them in terms of what they do and why they do it. So I think what they mean is that the Switch handheld screen kind of in the middle era is not ending. Yes. They're probably only halfway through their way where they predict their next leap will be in technology. So
when Pokemon Legends Arceus 2 comes out on the Switch 2, it might run it.
On the Switch, yes.
It might run it over 30 frames,
Damn it.
720p.
Hell, this game might run at over 30 frames a second on the Switch 2.
Right, so
Arceus doesn't
we
even
don't
hold
need a
30
sequel.
frames a second. What do you mean?
You and I can't see more than 24 frames a second.
Yeah, but but Steve, you have two eyes. It's 48 frames per second.
What if I'm
What about my third eye when I meditate?
if I wear glasses?
Anyway,
Well, you got the other two closed.
not if you meditate well enough. The eyes only just close from the distractions. If I hone my senses. No, shall we move on?
Is a blink just
Speaking
taking a
of
screenshot?
distractions. What? No. The audience question for this. Fuck. Damn it, Steve. Now I've thought about it. Now it's in my head. We have an audience question for this week. Tom, big fan of the show, he writes in and says, hey guys, how has your taste in video games changed over your life, and what do you think has caused those changes? Who wants to start?
I'm happy to.
I can start.
Okay, which
Jinx.
one? Yeah, me,
Steve,
okay.
you start.
Oh, actually, we're legit. Okay. So I don't think my tastes have changed that much. Like, I was thinking back to all the games I used to play. They used to just be half action adventure, half RPG, half weird whatever I can find, like platformers or whatever. I don't think I've actually evolved my taste much. Like, I'm still playing Pokemon, still playing Halo. Like, it's the biggest games recently. I will say that I'm probably a bit more cautious with how I choose to invest my time in games, in a sense that, like, if I see a game and I don't like the look, like, I'll always look at like reviews and achievement lists and like sort of a general vibe of what the game is before I jump straight into it.
So you mean you're less likely just to see a game and you're like, oh, that looks interesting, like just off screenshots alone, and then just buy it?
Exactly. Well, I remember in, like, I think it was like 2009, I had some Christmas money and I walked into EB Games and I bought Dragon Age Origins, literally never
Oh, I
hearing about that
remember this.
game. Yeah, I literally had never heard about the game before. I literally just picked up the box. I'm like, oh, this looks cool. I'll buy it. And like, I love that franchise. I love Fred Dragon Age. You know, I love that game.
And then you basically handed it to me when we were working together and said, play this.
And you didn't.
I did. I love
Did you?
that game.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I did.
Amazing game. But I would never do that now. Like, the idea of like going to a shop, buying a game without knowing anything about it is worrying. But that's because I'm very
Yeah.
time poor now. But then at the same time,
And also, there are a lot more games where they're effectively just cash grabs than what they used to be. So
yeah. And I get the feeling if there was a lot more games with like microtransactions and sort of things when I was younger, I might have fallen into it a bit. And there's always like the constant games that are like, it's like an open world type of game, but it's literally just padding out the content with just like extra random generated quests that don't really lead to anything.
Arceus.
Yeah. Got 100% that Pokedex, right? Did all those research tasks. So yeah, long story short, literally me just being time poor has just changed the games I play. The taste has not changed. The taste stays the same. And my tastes are the best tastes.
Fair enough. Seth.
So when I was a kid, I was more leaning towards platformers and action adventure games. But as I started getting older, I started leaning towards more of the RPG routes. Like, I still play a good mix of every genre, but I've got a bigger backlog of what most people would consider RPG games, and yeah, that's where I put a lot of my time now into.
Fair enough. Anything else to say on that? Like, you stopped so suddenly, I wasn't sure. Like, that was succinct. That was great. Do you have any other thoughts? Or
Yeah. No, not really. Like, I still play a lot of, like, what I really like. Like, I got very hyped up when Crash Bandicoot 4 came out because I was a big fan of the original trilogy. I still enjoy arcadey racing games and everything. But, yeah, like, as a kid, like, the RPGs I mostly played were, Pokemon, basically. But now it's reversed where it's like, this is the genre I play the most of now. Like, I'm surrounded by the Final Fantasies, the Kingdom Hearts, Personas, and everything on that front.
Fair enough. Josh.
my taste has definitely dramatically shifted, but in games, not so much. So what I mean by that is when I first started playing games, I was playing FPS, I was playing puzzle games, I was playing RPGs, I was playing whatever I could get my hands on just to fill some time, right? But those were primarily single player, and I was playing it for the enjoyment of the game or the story. Whereas now, after the invention of TeamSpeak and Discord and all of these other sort of, I guess, the growth of gaming in general, I find myself playing games because other people are playing them, or to experience, even just a temporary, like, short match with other people just to play with friends. I don't find myself playing a lot of single player games anymore. And if I do, it's usually just because it looks like something that I would want to enjoy alone, whether that's a story like Alan Wake or something like that I know I'm just going to absolutely love. Then I'll play a single player game, but even then, half the time I'm usually chatting to other people while I'm doing so. So the way I play games has become very different, and that's affected the games that I play. My taste in games, I think, is mostly pretty much the same. I would still rather play a story RPG than a FPS, but I'll play the FPS if that's what people are playing, kind of thing. What about you, Patrick?
Yeah, fair enough. Shoot, for me, the first video game that I ever played was a racing game, and I still think that racing games make up a good chunk of what I play. I was trying to think, while you were talking, whether I've played more or less ranked or like match-made online games, like now versus earlier on. I'm not actually sure. I think nowadays I certainly used to get more frustrated at games, like as in like more kind of childish rage, like, oh, it's so unfair. Like I remember not being able to beat Crunch in Crash Bandicoot 1 or 2 or one of the Crash Bandicoots, I forget, the one that Crunch is the first boss in.
Crunch was 4.
What?
Crunch was in 4.
As a kid, Crunch was in an earlier game as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in an earlier game.
No, Crunch was introduced in Crash 4.
I'm remembering wrong as well then.
I'm remembering wrong as well.
Do not argue with me on this.
No,
I'm the
I
biggest
believe
Crash
you.
fan
No,
here.
I know that's why I think who was the first boss in Wrath of Cortex?
Crunch, which is Crash 4.
Oh,
Crash 4, the one that just came out.
yeah.
I mean, Wrath of Cortex at the time was the 4th main Crash Bandicoot game.
So Crash 4 is Crash 5?
Crash 4 is like Crash 8.
God, I hate that. Okay.
Okay.
I'm saying that number off the top of my head, but I also think that's accurate.
I believe you.
I've quickly looked it up. So the Wrath of Cortex is the 6th Crash Bandicoot game, but the fourth
Oh my
chronologically.
The fourth chronology. What is this Spyro? Spyro's Crash universe we've got into?
Because Crash Team Racing and Crash Bash happened, but there's spin-offs.
Anyway, I remember raging quite a lot when I was really young, playing that, and part of that was because I didn't have a memory card for my PS2 until 2007-ish. So it was like, turn the PS2 off and process gets reset. So now, and then also like my PS3 got wiped because I got Y-lotted, other bits and pieces. So now I think I'm also more time poor, so I'm also more selective, but I'm also I'm not in the mood to play a game that's just gonna like frustrate me. So I don't play any match-made games solo anymore. I will play Rocket League, I'll play Dota, I'll play I'd probably play Teamfight Tactics with League of Legends, but I'll never play it just as me. I'll always play it either with people or in some kind of communal fashion, which I don't think I would have done as much back, earlier on. Like I would have absolutely stayed late into the night just solo queuing in whatever game I was playing, and I would have been totally fine with that. And I think that's probably the biggest change. Beyond that, yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm also kind of like Steve, where it used to be very rare. Like my parents are very anti-video game. Shock. And it used to be that they would grudgingly, like I would have to beg and beg and beg that I'd go to EB Games. And so if for whatever reason the game that I really wanted was out of stock, which happened a couple times, it was kind of pick another game or we're not coming back for like weeks. And so I would just pick a game that just looked interesting. And the one that's sticking out for me for whatever reason, it was a Bionicle game on the DS, and it was pretty fun. It wasn't the game that I went there to get, but I have impulse bought games more recently, but they on the tin have said that they are very stop and start. Like they're games that you do like a playthrough or a run through of some sort, and then you stop. Almost roguelike, but not quite. And I think that's probably something that I'll continue to do into the future. Yeah, that's probably all I really have to say on that. It's changed. I think matured is probably the right word. My tastes have matured and refined, but...
Can I roll a story off one of the ones you just said?
Sure.
So I just remembered that as a kid, I also played a lot of cash-in games, I want to call them. I played a Shark Tale game at a friend's house once, and I wanted it as a kid, but my mum went to the Kmart to go get it, but they were out of stock of it. So instead, she brought back two games, a Scooby-Doo platforming game and Jak 2. And Jak 2 is now one of my favorite games ever made.
Yo.
The Scooby-Doo one wasn't bad either, I remember that.
Yeah, the Scooby-Doo one wasn't bad, but Jak 2 was peak.
Yeah, Jak 2 was excellent.
I think that was because I'm now remembering a lot of, because I was a big Ratchet and Clank original trilogy guy. Sly Cooper original trilogy guy, and I'm sure there's another original trilogy in there that I'm misremembering. It wasn't Jak and Daxter. Jak and Daxter
Spyro.
I never got into. But they were all games that were introduced to me by playing either by playing at a friend's house or like just chatting to other people at school, and just sort of convincing myself that like, yeah, that sounds like a game that I'd find really fun. Actually, it took place way later than that, but Borderlands I got into by just having chats after chats after chats with people at lunchtime at high school, and they're all saying, Borderlands is great, you get to do all this stuff, there's infinite guns and like all this customization stuff, and I thought, wow, that's crazy, that sounds so good. And so when I went to go and buy it, of course it's R18, and so that was sort of like a moment of reckoning of like, hey mum.
Wow, you guys had R18 back then?
What do you mean?
Australia only just got
we didn't
use it.
Yeah, we just got it.
Yeah, we didn't get
actually,
R18 until like midway through the PS3 generation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was 2010 or 2011.
Yeah, I think we didn't get it until like 2013.
But anyway, yeah, I don't really know where I went into that tangent, but more just like, it's crazy how games that I now look back on fondly were kind of introduced by chance or introduced by circumstances that if something had been slightly different, I probably might have found them later on in a different way, or I might not have at all.
Yeah, two games that I really enjoy were introduced by me seeing other people play them and ended up, well, one of them was a present and the other one was happenstance. So back when I was in preschool, someone had a Game Boy with Pokemon on it, and that was like my introduction to Pokemon, and I really wanted it. So a few years later, like after watching the anime for a bit and not having the games, for Christmas I got a Game Boy Advance and Pokemon Gold and Silver, both to go with it, and that was my introduction to the Pokemon games. Loved them to bits. But a few years later, I saw someone playing the Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku games.
I was going to bring that up as well.
Fantastic. Good games.
Yeah, and I went to EB Games looking for Pokemon Emerald because I saw someone playing Ruby or Sapphire, and hey, Pokemon on the Game Boy Advance, I really wanted it, but they were all out of stock. And just happened to be there was Legacy of Goku 2, so I picked that up, and another fantastic game that I love to bits.
Yeah, I wanted to actually literally mention Legacy of Goku because very similar to Patrick, my parents weren't anti-game. My dad himself was a pretty decent gamer at the time, but we didn't have a huge amount of money, right? So
my parents weren't anti-gamer. In fact, my dad was actually a pro gamer.
Pro gamer, yeah. He was in the Dota Pro team before Dota existed. No, he
Evo champion.
The reason we had a PS1 was because he got a Nintendo, and he played the SNES a lot as a kid slash early adult. And we didn't, they weren't anti-game, but we didn't have a huge amount of money growing up. So the way that I played my games were Christmas presents or birthday presents, pretty much from either family or that would be the game I gave of the year. So another way that
that was around about the same way I had new games.
Yeah, so
like Christmas money or Christmas presents.
Pretty much, yeah. Until I started working when I was like 12. I found it the way my tastes in games have changed a lot. I think from there is that not only was I playing games that I wouldn't normally play because it was the last one left, and of various types of games because other people were picking them out for me, but it was also, hey, I'll sit here and I'll play Pokemon for 800 hours because it's the only game I have that I still enjoy, or I'll sit there and I'll play Legacy Goku, even though it's frustrating for me as a kid and I'm finding it really hard and I don't know what I'm doing, but because I had nothing else to play, I would just sit there and play it for hundreds of hours. And Supersonic Warriors, I did the same fight over and over again.
Perfect game.
Excellent game. But it's just, you wouldn't do that anymore. You'd just be able to download a new app on your phone, or there's a million other ways to get access to these things. And I think that really shaped the way that I play games at the moment as well.
I should clarify. My parents are anti-game, and they're probably still. They might be slightly more relaxed now. They were certainly more anti-game when I was growing up than
Candy Crush has softened them up.
No, none of them have any games on their smartphones. But the first experience that I ever had with a gaming thing was that Dad was over in Sydney for a conference back in 2000 and whenever the PS2 came out, 1 or 2 or whatever.
2002, I think.
Somewhere about
yeah,
that.
probably 2002 over
I think
here.
I think it was one in Japan.
And so he came back from Sydney with a PlayStation 2 and Formula 1 2001, and I don't think he had the racing wheel at the time. Yeah, no, it was just that. It was a controller, PlayStation 2, and Formula 1 2001, and we had at the time fairly large, one of those really really heavy plasma screen TVs, like the really
and the mega thick ones as well.
They weren't actually that big.
Years.
That was dummy thick.
They're not actually that big, but they were just very very heavy, very thick. And so Dad was amazed at how here we had an interactive way of playing Formula 1. And so he played that for quite a bit, and then he was like, "Hey Patrick, check this out." And so he handed me the controller. And
it's all
then he
from
realized
there.
he fucked up. Yeah, and no joke, we had to downsize the TV because of how close my siblings and I were sitting to the TV to play it. And the PS2 we used all the way until 2009 when we replaced it with a PS3. But at that point, it was barely reading PS2 discs anymore. And that's sort of when the anti-game crusade started right after they bought the PS2. But now it's come full circle,
and now to their children.
Yeah, exactly. And now that Dad's slowly backing off in bits and pieces of his work, he's got more downtime now. And I've noticed that he started playing Kerbal Space Program.
Oh my god!
Nice.
Because now he acts as sheepish around us as I had to do back when I was a kid playing video games around him, where it's like, oh no, Dad's coming, and you hide the hide the GBA or whatever under your pillow. And you're like, I'm not doing anything, and then Dad will just be typing and clicking around, and then you'll see him very obviously alt tab to a spreadsheet or something when you walk past.
It just pops up on Steam on the right hand side, Patrick's dad is now playing Kerbal Space Program.
Man, I'm so glad that you have a good experience story about a racing game with your dad, because I have a terrible one with one of my mum's exes.
Wow.
So
Did he beat you?
after my parents, no,
In the game?
after my parents
Yeah,
divorced,
in the game.
Oh no,
no,
too deep,
no,
too deep.
After my parents divorced, one of my mum's boyfriends, like not long after, was just this junky asshole, and he hogged our PS2 like something fierce, like
No.
and the game was the game of choice was Gran Turismo 3.
Oh, what a good
So hey,
game.
rolling that back. It is, but the way he played that and just kicked us off the PlayStation to play it's like absolutely killed that game for me.
Yeah, see, my one of my very first memories, the first 2 games that I remember playing ever were Quake, when it very first released, the original Quake, and Gran Turismo on the PS1. And I've loved car games ever since because it was something I did with my dad, and we just went through and we just played Gran Turismo, even to the point where I hadn't played one in a couple of years. And he came with because I just didn't have a PlayStation. I never had a PlayStation 3 or a 4. And he had one at his place. He just came home with a PlayStation 4, said, "Oh, I want to play Gran Turismo." And we just sat there doing Gran Turismo Sport, trying to beat each other's time trials for months. Like that's all we did.
Yeah.
So it's it's pretty awesome, like just the way it can bring us together. But it's crazy how much your random interactions can shape just huge portions of your life based upon them.
Oh yeah. Look at me now,
Yeah,
Dad.
I like as back when we had the PS1, like I loved playing Gran Turismo 2 at my grandparents' place because my uncles were there and they had like a bunch of PlayStation 1 games to play, and Gran Turismo 2 was like up there for me. Gran Turismo 3 I loved a lot until like I just couldn't stand it because we couldn't play it anymore. And I haven't really been back to Gran Turismo since, mostly because because of that Gran Turismo 3 experience, but also I just kind of got away from realistic driving sims and got more into the arcadey ones. And like I'm really glad that 7's coming out now because I really do want to give that a good try.
One other funny moment I should add to the Formula 1 2001 stuff is that there was like a period between when Dad handed me the controller the first time and then realizing that he'd committed one of the unforgivable sins, where he went and bought a steering wheel to really give himself the immersion. So we had a steering wheel and pedals, and he was using that to play Formula 1. And
Was
and
it a
that
Formula
was
1
great.
steering wheel, or was it an actual steering wheel?
No, it was an actual steering. This is like 2003. Like they came circular. That was it. And so we played that, but it led to an interesting dilemma because like after that moment, he realizes he'd committed the unforgivable sin. He was going straight to hell when he died. Fair enough. But it was also when he started ramping up anti-game rhetoric, and so he was unwilling to buy at that point. So I had 2 siblings at that point, or like two that could hold a controller at that point, and so we all wanted to play games together. And so technically, we had 2 controllers. So the favorite multiplayer local multiplayer game we had was SSX Snowboarding 1, made by Big, rest in peace. And so guess who had to learn how to snowboard with a steering wheel? and
That's awesome.
I'll tell you a secret. If you push up on the analog stick, you get to go faster because you get to go down
So you
faster,
just hold
and
down
you
the
pull
pedal.
back on the analog stick to brake. But on a steering wheel, you can't push up.
Do you just leave it facing middle? Is that
No. So you can steer left and right with the wheel, but you can't.
you
like,
can't just
move
push
up.
forward?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't push forward or back. So
The pedal would be
you had to
assigned
get
to X.
you had to get really creative with how you sped up and slowed down with the steering wheel.
Wild.
Wild indeed.
Be like an actual
Anyway.
snowball where you need to go left and right to increase your momentum down the hill. That's awesome.
But yeah, no, I don't know. This was kind of a fun tangent. Thanks for writing in, Tom. A lot of fond memories were dragged up by all of us, I think. Any closing comments from anyone?
Happy Groundhog Day, everyone.
Thanks, Steve.
Video games fun.
Making me regret asking.
Play Legacy of
asking you.
Goku.
Play
Legacy of Goku. Fantastic games.
Cool. And so with that, I should probably say that if you have an audience question you'd like us to discuss, write in at the plugs I gave before. Mailbag, fasttravellounge@gmail.com, Facebook, Fast Travel Lounge, and Twitter at Fast Travel Lounge, but minus one of the L's. But with that, we now come to the conclusion of episode 10. Apologies, this is probably going to be a longer one.
This is hands down our longest episode.
Yeah, we can thank Pokemon Legends Arceus for that. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.